So good morning. I'm back on my ranch here in Texas, outside of Houston in the Austin area, and I am recently back from a nearly 2-week trip to Ukraine. It takes about 3 days to get into the country, 3 days to get back out, but in the interim, my assistant Maria Ivanova and I were over there to see hospitals. Just this morning, she messaged me a video from Chernihiv Regional Hospital of our Patent Med wound fusion machine in action that we delivered over there thanks to grant funding from the United Methodist Committee on Relief and our generous donors. And it's what you would expect, an open leg wound being fused together, because this is a war and it's too gruesome, too graphic for me to post online. It might even be flagged by social media moderators, but the reality is that this is a country still very much at war. And I've really struggled since I've got back to the United States to try to figure out how to put into words, to convey to the American public this sense of urgency, the sense that this war might be in halftime, that we cannot grow idle in terms of our aid, in terms of our dedication and our steadfastness to supporting the Ukrainian people in their quest for liberty. And I think when I look at pictures of myself from a year ago, before February 2022, and now over a year later, I've aged like dramatically. It's crazy to me, because I've put so much time and energy into this nonprofit work, in addition to being a full-time college professor and a mother. And I just really believe that it's my calling. I believe that it's a necessity. And I want you to know, as you're watching this video, that the reason I risked my life to some degree to go over there was because I love the Ukrainian people, and because I believe that we need to assist them. There was one day shortly after we arrived where we went to a Bucha area clinic, and this patriarch of the village, we were brought to his house to have lunch after we visited the clinic where we had bought a spirograph machine which tests lung capacity. And he brings me to his house for lunch along with my assistant and our videographer that's there. And right before I could even set my items down, he says, "Lena," and he motions for me to come with him. And he grabs my arm and he takes me back right outside the fence line for his house and shows me the ditches where 5,000 Russian soldiers had been the year before. He shows me the MRE ready-to-eat meals that had been there. He had already taken me through the villages and showed me the word "Детки" for children in Russian on the walls that were still spray painted there, that most Americans have seen via the international news. And so as I was looking at these ditches, it was just painfully aware to me how real this war still is for these individuals that had war crimes in their communities. And he says to me, as he hands me later a painted Russian shell, basically made into a vase. I'll post pictures of it later. He hands me this vase and he says, "This is for helping us, because your nonprofit is the only organization that helped." The media came here, the international media came, and they took interviews with us. They asked us what our needs were, but nobody came, and you did. And so I want you to know that in coordination with the United Methodist Committee on Relief, the Arlene Campbell Humanitarian Foundation over the last year has provided for over $3 million of medical supplies and equipment. We've provided food aid across the country as well, which was an expansion of our mission that we had not done in the past. And we are talking about even further expanding to help meet the overwhelming needs in the country. So I know that I've already talked for almost 5 minutes, so I will wrap this up. But please, please, please be aware that you can always email me, call me. Most of you already have my personal contact information. If you have any questions about what conditions are like over there, there was a lot of times I was just plain scared, to be honest. The first time was about 20 minutes into our train ride from Poland, before we even get to Lviv, and the sirens rang out, the air raid sirens, and there's a strobe light as you pass through some cities that flashes, and I started having to breathe deeply and pray, and Maria starts talking me through it and saying it's okay, but I realized that on a train there's no place to go to a basement to try to hide from a missile or an incoming drone attack, and I hate that this is the situation today in Ukraine, and that this is the modern place of proving ground for international security, where we learn what weapons work and what doesn't, in terms of how many drone attacks can be launched successfully on Kyiv in a given night or a given morning. Just this morning, there's footage of children running away from bombs that are landing in the streets. It's ridiculous, and that the international community has allowed this to continue on this long. But I do know that there is support for Ukraine, and I'm hoping and praying that it persists. In the meantime, we want to uphold the medical front line. We are getting requests for frontline hospitals on a regular basis now. As we've given more aid, more requests have flown in. So your support is necessary. You know, I actually found that I was more mentally prepared for the night where I heard 5 explosions outside my hotel room. Even, from the basement, I could hear these explosions, because I was at least in a basement, and it gave me some kind of psychological sense that it would be okay, that, there was a roof over my head, at least, if, some building higher than me got struck by a drone. And, man, this shouldn't have to be how people live. I got so little sleep over the last couple weeks, and it's psychological warfare. It's terrible for the Ukrainian people to have to live this way. This is a country that had problems prior to the war. Our foundation's been in existence since 2016, but Arlene Campbell, my mentor, did this work since 1989. So, when I was a child. So the needs in Ukraine have been there for a long time. And I really believe that good can come out of all this evil. So asking for your support, and thank you.